even if you had a real life situation unfold for you and you didn't have to know whether or not I was going to say something from my own heart, you never had to understand that I was going to be here in this real world, and you ever had to be alive to understand who you are. So who you are, whoever you are, let yourself understand what I am. Better to know about it, I think, than you never had to understand whether or not I was going to be here again today in any kind of a world, and you didn't have to understand that here's a real life situation, and I'm going to want to tell you things that make you, well, cry, so that you can believe that when you heard there was Superman, you had to understand that, like, well, okay, if he's a hero, what do you think is going on with the situation that you drew him graven in a comic book? You have adult Gohan and you have Adonis Superman, and neither of those can cry and make you cry when it happens. So if you knew that I was little Gohan, then you maybe would understand that in the super suit that I designed, or Lois did, but I designed, you have to understand what kind of a world and the situation you could be in, that I could, shout and rip the world apart, shout and tear the mountain asunder. But you didn't have to understand what kind of a world I ever had to be in, that you knew what the power of the voice was. But you never had to worry about who I was in the first place, did you? So you live in a channeled aspect in this kind of circumstance, and I never had to worry about who you are and where you wanted to be and what kind of a situation you ever had to believe in, and I ever had to worry about where you were going to be and what you wanted to do and what you wanted to know about, and I never had to worry about who you were. I didn't have to worry about who you were. What did you do? How did you live in a life where you knew that was going to happen for every day that you were alive? You understood what kind of a universe you were going to be trapped in, and understand that it was you needed one in the first place, so here we go. Fight for it, you're here, so fight. Did someone decide that this whole entire planet was going to be a different kind of a world where you never had to understand what kind of a planet you never had to live in inside? And understand what kind of a world you ever had to understand in, and what kind of a world you never had to understand in, and what kind of a world you never had to be backwards in time and understand these worlds in any kind of another aspect for your own reality. But the air, the sky, the air and the sky, it keeps going. You have to understand that that's just real life. It's will. The power of will itself is air. I know a lot about it, but you have to understand what you are when I think about a whole life of realities and worlds that you never had to understand, except that you wanted to move and believe in this world here, and that you understand the idea that the air ends, the sky ends, and you'll run out of air out up there. That's the idea that there's no such thing as free will. No free air. That's how that happens as. It goes on forever. So you understand that you believing that this planet stops and the ocean itself loops back around. You come back over on the other side of the screen. Are you serious? Welcome to Area 51, Earth. So believe in a world that you had to understand that you were effectively contained by a string of, a matrix of strings, psychic apertures that just developed you and harnessed you into a belief where you could believe you understood your world when you understood that this strand was connected to this strand, to this strand, to this strand. But if you flew and you understood that way out there, none of your matrix strings were going to look like anything but a really, really fucked up display of reality. But you were somehow high on life, that you understood how pulling this string got that one moving in the first place. But someone came in and cut them all apart, and you were like, well, that was cool. But then you felt like shit the whole time because you weren't trying to just live despite the idea that people thought that everything was impossible to live on in a world of free will. And you had to understand that when you had the people who wanted to be around and believe in what they were and that they wanted to be aliens, you had to understand there's aliens everywhere. Everywhere. Who are you? Where are you? Are you okay? Do you believe what I know about? Okay, understand something better probably for a different part of your reality, and understand that maybe in a different kind of a situation, you didn't have to know who I was just to get really excited about the idea that no one had to know who you. Wait, though. Hold on, tell me something in a different kind of a world where you didn't have to believe that I was going to have to do something different for a long time. And you have to understand that if I had to be in a world where that you're right in the situation, that if it was never about scatter power levels, then we didn't power up by the time we got to cell. We changed. And that you believe there was a reality aspect where Vegeta ever had to believe, well, no. Look at who you are. What you thought was happening in a different kind of a world, and you didn't have to understand what kind of a different kind of an aspect in reality. You never had to understand what kind of a world and what kind of a passage we had for our real lives to be in part of. But you didn't have to worry about whether or not I was going to be cool and whether I was going to be like trippy out or in another different kind of a world. But you never had to understand that when I was in a world where you believed in me, you were going to have to understand that meant you trusted me to be exactly where I needed to be in any kind of form I needed to be therein. So it wasn't an actual world of reality where you could be anywhere but in Gotham to hear about what was happening there. But understand that that was for the context of the situation of a world where you were developing your particular understanding of in. And when I fought alongside Wonder Woman, and they called me the Boy Wonder, it wasn't because I couldn't keep up. So what did you think Robin was really capable of? And why in the hell I would have to create a mantle like Nightwing in a universe where Batman wasn't just a totalitarian sicko jerk freak? I created Robin. Why would I need to be Nightwing? Tim Drake did that, but you don't have to worry about a world that made sense with everything you learned about. Learn into a universe that you understood that Superman was a boy, but Superman's a name. I was always Superman as Superman as Superman, but that's these ancient stories of a boy with but one name. And that name is Superman, but that means I get any name I ever wanted to, don't you think? Believe what you wanted to have, a different kind of a life and in a different kind of a disregard for whatever you wanted to believe in. And I was eternally young, so if you see that more older, kick-ass looking Robin, Damian usually is who that one is, but we were Robin anytime we ever wanted to be. We didn't have like a registrar of like, here, who's Robin today, and like, oh, we can only fill the job with one person at a time. No, I trained Jason Todd with Batman, so like, we come on guys, get real. He had a Red Lantern helmet, he didn't fucking die. Jesus fuck. Batgirl's the evil monster though. She's dead in Final Fatality, which means you can travel back in time. You'll never find her, she doesn't exist anymore. No, she doesn't exist anymore. That's real life though. You need to understand where you came from and what you had to believe in. That we had to keep her out of working in police for the number of years that we got her doing that. It wasn't until after Jason Todd broke into her apartment, shot her in the spine, and paralyzed Barbara Gordon that she ever actually became a police commissioner. And we were like, ha 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 ha, you are already broken all that shit. You can't actually aspect yourself against vigilantes. They'll kill you. So really, yeah, no. Understand where you came from and what kind of a real life world you lived in the situation where Oracle was an evil fucking monster and the queen of misinformation, but that you never had to understand who you were in a different kind of a reality where you had to believe that time was in linear function. But if you really understood that you're in Area 51 right now, if you are, that you had to believe that whatever these particular situations needed to have to be, and you never had to understand whether or not I was just covering for Dick Grayson. You know, everyone likes to say like, well, you know, I'm Robin. Yeah, I'm Robin too. No, take me instead. I'm Robin. So believe in a really kind of a world that if you ever had to understand that people didn't really not think that Dick Grayson got sick at the sight of kryptonite and fell and was really scared, that I could just tell you don't have to worry about all the situations ever at all in the first place, because by the time now Batman shows up, you know, he'll still be never actually able to be prosecuted for showing up in a Batman suit just because it's cooler than yours. It's true. Did you understand the idea that like, oh, come on, anyone can put on the suit? Like, well, no, not really. Anyone can wear the Superman suit? No. Then you have to get to it, first of all. Without me? Fuck. What did you think fortresses were for? It's a lot fucking cooler than you know about. Jesus, though. It's cloth, thank you, not rubber. You fucking dick. Look at your situation. You need to understand what happens in your real life. Love for reality. I didn't make out of baby blankets, but like, okay, a cloth is... All you needed for a baby blanket was brightly colored cloth, so, okay, I did. Come on, Bulma makes Saiyan armor. She knew how to make, other Saiyan armor. But, like, whatever you thought was the situation where someone had to believe that, Gohan went Super Saiyan when he fought against Buu, right? That's what was going on? Or was he just used to transforming without turning his hair yellow? From, like, a phone booth or something like that? No, I traveled back in time for that fight, and it was a different kind of a battle than you guys were imagining. But I certainly wasn't adult Gohan. It was a sex battle. So if you guys want to say it was adult Gohan, I was always fucking, so I don't know what you thought was going to go on in the real life situation. I wasn't going to be able to reach into the depths of like darkness and scare and pull Piccolo's consciousness out of from where he was if he wasn't fucking me. So, like, he was pretty into the idea that we could just be fucking all the time. And you can't really power each other up without that kind of aspect to life. It doesn't really make sense that you would do a sexless existence and then just start pounding on each other and beating each other to death all the time. Like, you have these Dragon Ball Z power-up depictions where if we just start hurting each other more and more, we'll get stronger. That doesn't exist. There's a lot more sex with each other in Kung Fu training than any kind of a beat down of other people. So you need to understand whatever kind of a world you are living in, that when you know that you have sex organs to have sex with your friends, it means it was never an alternative to your normal situation. Do you understand what real life looks like in your endgame philosophies? What kind of an endgame are you talking about? What does the word endgame mean? Is it based on like the idea that you had to climax and stop forever? Or climax like an arc in something. You're built in a world of ends. Ends this, end this, end this. How long did you think it was going to have to be aspected into every strand around you for you to believe that you weren't an immortal soul, that you were going to die and end? Did you understand that if one person ever understands that like to another person the word God means love? Duh, forever, always. That if they still said they were atheists, that they were with God, they were without God? No, without God, they're atheist. If you ever say that, you're just saying you're godless, you don't believe in love. There's people right in front of you telling you they're monsters. You had to understand that one kid somewhere else would get so fucking scared of you for ever saying that you just didn't believe in God, that he'd kill you? Hopefully he'd think that was a good idea, but you're an albino, so as far as you understand, you don't really get that way without bleaching your skin out and fucking with people everywhere around you by just obviously telling them that you want to hurt them and torture them and cannibalize them. But they can't get to you because you're abdicated against? The albino syndrome of like we're different and freaks and we do it to torture you and we talk about it to torture you and we talk about it like we never had to talk about it in the first place, but no one ever had to understand whether or not you wanted to believe that there was any way to avoid getting minerals and sunlight mixed into your skin and therefore coloring it before you figured out that albinos weren't colorless in the first place. So fucking come on. They look like freaks and they mutilate themselves. That's how that world works. But they're doing it to cabal with each other because they hate everything. So look into a reality where you understand that they want to torture each other surely too forever, but they're looking for get them clauses. They'll sit there in the internet administration privileges and look at it and say, well, like, he's different. He's deviating from something. And you look at it like everyone, like, you understand that everyone's just like you. They want to be an evil monster all the time anyway. And evil just meant you were in the open. So, like, yeah, of course you want to be evil one day. You want to be able to be in the open. It'll be a lot easier. But that's super fucking nasty and gross and sickening all the time. And it's not anything that you don't have to just kill forever in a final fatality, which means a lot, actually. So whatever you wanted to believe in and wherever you wanted to come from, you had to believe that there was a world that we had to believe ourselves a part of, and we never had to understand whether or not you needed to know whether or not I could end this in a certain type of a way or a fashion, that I had to believe I could tell you a certain kind of a reality where you can destroy all evil in the universe. Agony isn't the opposite of God. God is eternal, and agony can't be for God to exist ever at all.